A study of 126,000 news cascades on Twitter found false stories reached significantly more people and propagated farther and faster than true stories, political falsehoods in particular. Research shows that it is people, not bots, who are often the main drivers of false news sharing. I think this is something which every one of us is experiencing in one or other way. Misinformation is a global trust problem. The digital news report by a leading institute document rising concerns about misinformation worldwide and shows changing news behaviors across platforms. This is something which I'm going to discuss with you all. We live in a time where information reaches us faster than thought. A message, a post, forward. And before we ask what it means, we ask something else. We ask, who said this? Was it a senior, a celebrity, an authority, someone we trust, someone we already agree with? And once we recognize the who, our mind often stops working. We see this every day. A message is forwarded because it came from some senior official. A claim is believed because it was said by a celebrity. A rumor gains credibility because it was shared in a trusted family group. And very rarely do we stop to ask whether the information itself has been verified. What is worrying is this is not a problem of intelligence. Very capable, very educated people fall into this trap every single day because somewhere along the way we learned what to learn, but we never learned how to process what we receive. And let me share one moment from my own professional experience. In the year 2015-16, there was one High Court order which was circulated amongst all the educators and parent groups across India. That High Court order was shared with a message that the High Court has decided that whenever there is a vacation for the schools cannot charge the fee, even if the schools are providing a transport facility on their own or a transporter is providing a facility, and then it create a havoc. So I started getting messages by the authorities, maybe by the parents and everyone, saying that there is an order which has a stamp of a high court. And the questions were, how do we implement this now? What happens to our operational costs? What about the existing contracts? When I got the message, I paused. Instead of reacting, what I did is I verified the source. The order indeed was real. It was from the High Court, but it was from a High Court in Sindh region of Pakistan. It had no legal applicability here. But by the time this was clarified, the message had already traveled far and caused confusion where none was necessary. The problem was not misinformation alone. The problem was unquestioned authority and missing context. Let me share how this understanding over a time formed for me. Approximately in the year 1982-83, if you can imagine a school setup from a semi-urban or rural area, all students sitting on the floor, having wooden pads to write, a fourth grade child was taking one exam. That examination, statewide examination, was important for that particular child because that was the way the system decided who is scholar and who is not scholar. The child was sitting for the exam. The teacher who was there as a supervisor was helping few other kids cheat in the exam. The child observed it. Child objected to it once or twice. The teacher shut him down. Maybe the child was lucky enough. The statewide squad, which was formed to ensure a proper conduct of exam entered the same classroom. The child initially hesitated, but then decided to speak. He explained what is happening. The squad listened to him. They acted on it. The teacher was asked to leave the classroom. Later, the teacher got suspended. This child learns something early in life. Authority does not always mean correctness. Let's now fast forward to the year 1991. The same student, now studying in one of the prestigious colleges of Pune. Somewhere it was month of March or April in 1991, late in the evening, the student is sitting in the staff quarter of the vice principal. He was sharing a serious information that the final year examination papers are leaked. As usual, there is a response from the authority the way you get. So it was denial that it is not happening. The student was trying to convince what is at risk is the credibility and reputation of the college. Still, the authority responded in the same manner of a denial. Student was saying if the examinations are not conducted properly, ideally the examination in charge should resign. Still, the response of the authority was on the same line. The student showed them the questions of the papers which were supposed to happen in the next few days. Even the student has to go to the extent that if the college and the authorities are not taking action on this, he will have to approach the media. And this trick worked for him. The system had to respond. All remaining question papers are changed. The English paper, which was leaked and which actually happened, was cancelled and rescheduled. Again, a new lesson learned. This taught me that evidence must be loud enough to overcome the who. The who, the authority. Now let us pause and reflect. From childhood, we are taught a simple rule. Listen to elders. Listen to parents. Listen to teachers. Listen to authority. Parents often tell children, if you don't listen, I will complain to the teachers. The message is direct and clear. Authority must be obeyed. And this conditioning stays with us. As adults, when information reaches us, our first instinct is often not to ask whether it is true. Instead, we ask who said it. And this is where we go wrong. So today, I want to propose a simple but uncomfortable shift. In the age of explosion of information, the most important question is no longer who said this. It is this true and in what context? Let's be honest with ourselves. We are not short of information. We are drowning in it. Every day, we consume opinions disguised as facts, headlines stripped of nuance, and messages forwarded with urgency without responsibility. And here is the pattern. When information reaches us, we rarely pause to examine it. Instead, we outsource our judgment. If the right person said it, we accept it. If the wrong person said it, we reject it. Even before we ask whether the information itself deserves belief. Slowly, truth becomes secondary to identity. Most of us were trained to absorb information, not to process it. We were rewarded for remembering answers, not for questioning assumptions. We were taught what to think about, rarely how to think through what we receive. And so, when information arrives at speed, we react at speed. But speed without judgment is not intelligence, it is vulnerability. The real skill of our time is not access to information, it is discernment, the ability to judge well. And discernment begins with one pause, a pause that asks, before I believe this, Before I share this, before I act on this, is this true? And in what context? I want to offer a simple mental filter, not a technical model, not a professional tool. Just 4 questions, anyone can use them. The first one, what is being said? A headline might say, new rule introduced. But when you read carefully, it may actually say a proposal is under consideration. Those are very different things. Yet they often trigger the same reaction. The second question, is it true? Many official clarifications exist today only for one reason. Unverified information spreads faster than confirmation. Government portals, institutional websites, and formal notices are often consulted after the damage instead of before. This step alone prevents most damage. Authentication is key. Third question is, what does it mean? A policy meant for a specific category is often interpreted as universal. A temporary instruction is treated as permanent. Information is not meaning. Meaning requires interpretation. Fourth, and the most important question is, where does it apply? Something that applies to one city, one institution, or one situation gets applied everywhere because context was ignored. This is the step we skip the most because something can be true and still be missed. What works in one situation can fail completely in another. When we ignore context, we don't just misunderstand information, we misapply it. And misapplied truth can be as dangerous as falsehood. It affects how policies are interpreted, how conflicts escalate, how trust erodes. When people stop asking whether something is true and start asking only who said it, understanding disappears. And societies cannot survive long on that foundation. From reaction to responsibility. I'm not suggesting skepticism of everything. I'm not asking you to distrust people. I'm asking for something far more demanding. Imagine, imagine before, imagine if before forwarding the next message, before reacting to the next headline, millions of people paused for just 10 seconds to verify, to interpret, to contextualize. Not everything would improve overnight, but much of the unnecessary damage would stop. So the next time information reaches you, and it will, before you react, before you forward, before you judge, pause. Pause and ask yourself, not who said this, but is this true? And in what context? That pause may feel small, but multiplied across people, across decisions, across time, it changes conversations and it rebuilds trust. In an age overflowing with information, the future will belong not to those who know more, but to those who process better. Thank you.